Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. Today is news day and there's like 14 or 15 cards to talk about that got released either through leaks or through official Twitter post. So we got to jump right into it so that we don't waste any of your guys' time. We're going to start off with a new leader, one of the last ones that we're getting in this set. This is Gecko Moria, Black Leader, 5 life, 5k power, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Thriller Bark Pirates. Dawn times 1, when attacking, tap 2 Dawn, discard 1 card from your hand, put the top 2 cards of your deck into the trash, and play 1 Thriller Bark Pirates character with a cost of 4 or less from the trash. This is a great effect. It's going to play really well into the characters. They're going to have a lot of really fun characters to play out of this deck, and I think this leader ability is incredible for it. It's pretty costly. You have to tap 2 Dawn and have 1 attached, so you're going to be investing a lot of your Dawn into this. So we'll have to see how that actually plays out, but sending stuff to the trash is great. I'm really interested to see how the characters are going to play into it, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a really exciting way to play this game. Moving on to the next one. This is Pana, Green Black Leader, 4 life, 5k power, Thriller Bark Pirates. Activate main once per turn. Choose one of the following effects. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less, or up to one of your opponent's characters gets -1 during this turn. We just talked about Gecko Moria. I think that was a really good effect. This one is kind of skating the line between what green and black does, and both, good effects on their own, so we're going to have to see how the deck plays into this. It doesn't have much to do with what Gecko Moria is doing, so I don't know how playable it is with the Thriller Bark stuff. Green has a lot of these rest effects also, so it's kind of skating the line, and I don't know where it actually lands when it comes to playability. But it's a Pana leader, so I'm guessing it's going to be played regardless. Moving on, this is Dr. Hogback, Black character, 4 cost, 5k power, Thriller Bark Pirates. On play, return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. Put up to 1 Thriller Bark card other than Dr. Hogback from your trash to your hand. So we're starting to see that the effects are going to be assisting this archetype, which is really nice. Letting you recycle just in case you get low is nice. I think it's really good because I'm thinking you're returning 2 cards and you're going to put 1 back to your hand, so you're gaining something. Your cost is not really that expensive, sending stuff back to the bottom of your deck, and it's only a 4 cost. There's no Dawn attached. It's on play, and it has counter. I feel like this is pretty good. I'm trying to think of drawbacks and I can't off the top of my head, so let me know in the comments if this has a major drawback. In general, just what is the negatives for this card? Because currently I don't know of any. Alright, this is Absolum Black character, 4 cost, 5k power, Thriller Bark Pirates, 1k counter. On play, you may return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order, KO up to 1 character with a cost 2 or less. So we're seeing a lot of the cost being sending cards back to the bottom of your deck, and we only really have, I think, the leader so far that's sending stuff to the trash. So right now we have a lot of effects that are going to be using your trash as a resource, but not enough effects that are sending cards to the trash to gain that resource. So we'll have to see how much of like the Thriller Bark stuff's gonna enable this, or if you're gonna have to dip into like Dressrosa that has a lot of stuff that sends stuff to trash, because they also have the same like archetype of sending stuff back for like the big Luffy attacks and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. We'll have to see how it goes, but I don't want to spend too much time on these guys because there's so many things to talk about. Like this good boy right here. Look at him, what a good boy. Serverus Black character, 2 cost, 2k power, Thriller Bark Pirates, 1k counter. Blocker. So he's a 2 cost blocker with a counter, pretty standard for an archetype to get. And then we also get it in probably my favorite art style that they're doing right now, which is the super cute like chibi style, which is great. I think every archetype ends up with a 2 cost blocker, so this isn't anything too new. Moving on to Brooke, Black character, 6 cost, 6k power, former Rombar Pirates type. On play, choose one of the following. Put up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less into the trash, or your opponent puts 3 cards from their trash to the bottom of their deck in any order. Very interesting effects. The first effect is probably going to get played much more often, being able to send a card to the trash with a certain cost level, and black is really nice. And then the secondary effect is really interesting as a counter meta play, playing against the Dressrosa stuff, sending cards back to their deck, or even playing against Nami, forcing them to have another thing to send the top 3 cards of their deck to the trash to win could be major. But also, those decks are kind of falling off. Nami's always going to be a secretly good leader just because of its ability. But very interesting effect for Brooke and a non-Straw Hat Brooke. Moving on to a character I did not expect to see here. This is, I didn't expect it to be in green, and I did not expect it to show up. This is Ryuma, green character, 4 cost, 6k power, Wano Country, Thriller Bark Pirates. On play or on KO, K up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. So this being green surprises the heck out of me, because I would expect it to just be a full black card, since it's one of Gecko's zombies, or Hogback zombies, however you want to consider it. But it's full green, which means that the green yellow Yamato can play it, the green Wano stuff can play it, just in general. And since it has Wano Country, it's searchable, and it has a pretty great effect for what it is. So I'm really excited to see how this gets incorporated into this new Wano deck that's coming out, and how we are going to change what this means for green in general. Especially because this is a really good card and a character that we really want to know more about in general. So really cool character, really cool card. Moving on to Imparo Ivankov, red character, 5 cost, 6k power, Revolutionary Army. On play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, play up to 1 Revolutionary type character with a power of 5,000 or less, then return the remaining cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. This is pretty great. It's going to hit most of the cards in Revolutionary Army. Intentionally, this card is a 6k, so you can't play it off of itself, which is really good game building for this archetype, because that can get really nasty. But all of the cards are 5ks. There are various levels that are going to do things at 7k, but most of them are going to be playable with this card, which is a great addition to this deck that I haven't really seen much of. I know Betty gets played, but in general, I haven't seen enough of the OP05 Revolutionary Army stuff to say that it's been excelling. And we're getting more and more stuff for this deck. So in this set, which is interesting that it's getting a second set, because generally you get one set of stuff. We're starting to see a lot of cards come where the main archetype comes in one set, and then we're getting some support stuff in the second set. Sometimes some really important stuff too, and sometimes not. Let's see what this next one does. This is Inazuma, red character, 4 cost, 5k power, Revolutionary Army. When this character has 7,000 power or more, this character gains Banish, 1k encounter. So like I said, this is just a support character. It's a choice to play. You can either play this one or any other of the characters It's a 4 cost that you can fairly easily get to its 7k power threshold for its effect to be active. And then Banish is always nice. Make sure your opponent doesn't get those effects off of their life and playing into yellow and all the triggers that I always see people saying, I lost the game because of the last life and they're having trigger. Play Banish. Let's get some cards off of their life that they can't benefit from. So it's a good effect, I think. I don't know how it fits into the deck, but a 4 cost 5k isn't too bad. And getting Banish with just 2 Dawn or with some other effects is not a bad deal for Inazuma. Moving on to Shiki. Purple character, 2 cost, 1k power, film, Golden Lion Pirates type, 1k counter, blocker. On play, if your side of the field has 8 or more Dawn, draw 1 card, then discard 1 card from your hand. What's the next card? Okay. I'm just looking ahead because I really don't like these types of effects. I think they're really restrictive, especially on a 2 cost card. Makes you not want to play this card early on. It doesn't make me feel good about playing purple, even with purple doing really well in the current OP05 set. I just don't like these types of effects. I think if it's a 2 cost and it has this type of effect, draw 1, discard 1 is not a big deal. You could definitely lower that restriction from 8 to 5 or 8 to 3. Something in between, not 8. 8 is so high in endgame. Even if you're ramping ridiculously, it just feels bad not having all of your effects active until a certain point. It's just, I'm not a fan. I think I've been not a fan of this for a while. So let's move on to Zephyr. Zephyr, purple character, 7 cost, 7k power, film, navy type. Unplay, Dawn -1, nullify all abilities from your opponent's characters this turn. If this character has 5,000 power or less, KO it. So it's select 1 character. The translation's weird here. Select 1 character. All of its effects are null, meaning negated. Negate all the effects of 1 character. Then if it has 5k power or less, it can get KO'd. That's pretty great. I love null negating effects. I hope we get some more of it because then it makes the game really interesting. And KOing on top of that is kind of rude, unnecessary, but it hits stuff like Porcelino and stuff that say they cannot be KO'd by card effects. Their effect gets negated and then you can KO them. At 7 cost, I don't know if that's the best effect, but it's an incredible effect, so at any cost this is going to be good. I'm contradicting myself because I'm just trying to think of all of the little things that you could say about this, and the cost is high, but the effect is great. And we're getting some really interesting Zephyr art with it on top of all of that, so looks like old admirals across the top here, and Zephyr as an admiral back in his day. Alright, next up, I don't know why this is a Sakazuki. It doesn't look like Sakazuki. It's a very young art for him or something. Anyways, we're calling this Sakazuki. Sakazuki, blue character, 5 cost, 6k power, navy. On play, place up to 1 character with a cost of 2 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So very common blue effect for the characters that they're putting in the navy archetype. I have to look back and see all of the other ones to see if this is good in comparison to the cards that came out last set, and I can't remember all of the blue cards off the top of my head. So just in its own, in a vacuum, placing 1 character at a cost 2 or less to the bottom of your opponent's deck at 5 cost feels like you're paying a lot for something that's not targeting a good range, but you're getting 6k power out of it also. So it's kind of weird. I would like to have seen it be a higher cost, but maybe there's some good overlap with other cards that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. So we'll have to just see how it fits in to the rest of that blue deck. And right now I'm kind of unsure about it. The cost is pretty high for its effect, but you're removing it to the bottom of your deck. You're not sending it back to your hand. You're not giving them an option to play that card. So the blue counter meta stuff is always going to be fun. Moving on to the next card. Ooh, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Gion? 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 John? John? Gion. Blue character, 4 cost, 5k power, navy. 2k counter. Your turn, once per turn. When your opponent activates an event, your opponent places 1 card from their hand to the bottom of their deck. This is a great counter meta character. If they're going to counter with an event on one of your attacks, they're going to lose a card from their hand, and that's kind of devastating. On top of that, it's a 2k counter, so if you are playing against a deck that's not playing a ton of event counters and you can tell that, you can always keep it in your hand for a 2k counter. So regardless of how you pronounce this character's name, it's going to be a good card to play in blue, and I feel like we're going to see a lot of it in this set. It seems like it's a great counter meta for heavy red event decks, and even anything, because anything's going to play at least a couple of the 4K events or something like. I just feel like it's going to be really played. It's probably going to be a 4 of in some decks, especially with its 2k counter. Really cool. Moving on to Vin Smoke Yonji. Vin Smoke Yonji, purple character, 2 cost, 2k power, 1k counter. Vin Smoke's family, Germa 66 type. Activate main, Dawn -1. You may trash this character. If your leader has Germa 66 type, you may play up to 1 cost 4 Vin Smoke Yonji from your hand or trash. So this goes along with the rest of the siblings that we've seen so far. Being able to play characters out of the trash is going to be something that is coming to this set, and I'm really interested to seeing if we get a good leader in the future that's black and purple that can take advantage of like the Dressrosa stuff, sending stuff to your trash, or the Thriller Bark stuff that's sending stuff to the trash that you could then incorporate Germa into and get these cards easier. Or does Germa, Vin Smoke family, gonna have a card that sends their raid suit versions from the deck to the trash so that you get that ability a lot easier? We'll have to wait and see, but it's really exciting to see, and we've talked a lot about it a couple weeks ago. So we're just going to move on to the last card we have here. Kamak Curry. I think that's correct. Kamak Curry. Yellow character, 3 cost, 4k power. Sky Island, Sondora Warrior. Activate main once per turn. Place a 1 cost stage at the bottom of its owner's deck. KO up to one of your opponent's cost 2 or lower characters. Trigger if you have 2 or less life, play this card. Place a cost. So it's a stage removal for a very select stage cost, and this one isn't saying that it is restricted to just yours. So being able to remove your opponent's stage when it's really annoying, there's a ton of 1 cost stages, or using it on your own because the Skypea stage is their searcher, if I remember correctly. So being able to send your searcher back to your deck so that you can try to cycle back through it is great. Probably going to be added to a lot of yellow decks, I feel, because it can send your opponent stages back. Probably only going to be played in decks that also have a 1 cost stage, because you don't want to be dead in your hand. Even with 1k counter, I feel like there's better cards to play in general. So if you get into a place where you're playing cards just for counter, it feels bad to me. But let me know in the comments what you think in general of this card and every card that we've talked about today. If you're still here, thank you for watching. I tried to make it as painless as possible, but yes, it's a 20-minute video, so thank you for sticking around till the end. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. you really like what we're doing here on Good Game Nation, hit that subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you around. Peace.